Hello, in this video we want to talk about how to go through and create a separate layer tree and also how we can detach the model tree from the Creo window to move it. Now the first thing I want to go through and look at is how to go through and detach then or make basically a separate model tree. In the standard Creo interface you can come over and choose either from the model tree or the layer tree. Now I can use the drop down here at the top to switch into my layer tree and then go back as well. Or I can go up here to the View tab and then go through and use the Layer button at the beginning to switch back and forth. Now typically for your most parts this works fine, but when you start to get into your larger parts and assemblies where you're constantly turning layers on and off, this can become a little bit cumbersome. So I want to actually make a separate complete window for the layer tree. Now to do that, the first thing we'll need to do is edit our config.pro. So I'm going to come up here to File, and on the drop down I'm going to come down here to Options. And then once I've done that, I can now pick on the choice Configuration Editor. It's now going to go through and bring up things that I've changed as far as the interface. And I want to go through and add a few more choices here. So I'm going to come down below here and I'm going to use my Find choice. Now with Find, it now lets me go through and type in a keyword. So I'm going to go through and use an asterisk for a wildcard, and I'm going to type out the word tree and then another asterisk. And so when I hit enter, it's now going to go through and bring up a list of all the things that have the word tree in it. And I'll make this window a little bit bigger so we can see it better. And then from here, you'll notice one of my choices here is I can go through and have a floating layer tree. So I'm going to select that choice. And then you'll notice down below, it is currently set to no that value. So I want to come over here and switch this on the drop down here to yes. Now, once I've done that, I'm going to select Add/Change down below, and I've gone through and added that change back to my config.pro. So now I can close this window. Now, once I've made that change, I'm going to go through and say OK. Now, it will ask me, do you want to save these changes away and make this change permanent? So I'm going to come over here and say yes, and that will now go through and save away my config.pro. So I'll just say OK to that. Now, once I've done that, you'll notice now when I come over here to the side, I can't drop down here and switch now to the layer tree on the drop down. But if I go to my View tab over here and now pick Layers, it's now going to go through and bring up a completely separate window over here on the side. So now it's easy to turn my layers on and off and then also use my model tree at the exact same time. In the second part of this video, I want to go through and show you how you can detach then the model tree from the Creo window. This will basically make a freestanding window just like I did for the layer tree. Now this is really useful if you've got dual monitors. You can make it a separate window and then move it onto the second monitor, and then you can go through and have your Creo window at your maximum display so you can see everything a little bit better. Now to do that, I have to come up here again under File, and I do need to go through and edit my config.pro. So I'll drop down here again to Options, come down here again to Configuration Editor just like we did before, come down and say Find, and I'm still going to go through and type in the same keyword like I did before, star, tree, star. And then once I've done that, you'll notice the very top option here is Enable Tree Independent. So again, I want to drop down here below and then switch that to yes as well. Now once I've done that again, I'm going to change that, close this window, and again when I say OK, I'm going to resave again my configuration file with that new customization. Now, once I've done that, my model tree is still attached to this point. But I can now come back over here under File and then drop down here again to Options. But I'm now able to come over here to Windows Setting, and I've now got a choice here where I can display as a separate window. So now when I go through and add a check mark to that and then say OK, you'll notice now I've got a separate window over here for the model tree then that I can then go through and move around. Now, I've still got the Navigator panel displayed on the side, but of course you can come down below here in the corner and then you can compress that to give yourself the maximum view window. And then with these two side windows, the model tree and the layer tree, I would then move them then onto my second monitor to keep the menus separate.